Good afternoon, everyone. So today we'll get started. Today we will be discussing how the ExpandIT Planning Board works for planners and dispatchers. So I believe most of you are familiar with ExpandIT, but for those who don't know, ExpandIT is a Microsoft Dynamics independent software vendor, and we specialize in service management. If I haven't met you already, my name is Julissa Gonzalez. I'm a consultant and expert in field service software solutions. Today, I've also got Emily Ayala with me, who will be speaking in a few minutes. So just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. We are recording today's session. Everyone who registered will get an email with a link to the on-demand version within the next few days. The session will run for around 45 minutes, which includes time for Q&A. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A panel on your Ring Central console so we can address them towards the end of the presentation. If for some reason we don't have time to address all of your questions in today's live event, please be assured that we will follow up with you directly following the webinar. So the agenda is as follows. We will look at the objectives for the webinar. Then we will discuss the key takeaways. Emily will then get into the demo, and after that, we've allocated some time for Q&A. Lastly, we will finish off with additional resources you may use. So what is the main objective? The main objective for today's webinar is to provide educational training on the planning board. And during the training, Emily will highlight how to send internal messages and emails to customers and the technicians from the graphical planning board, how to create custom views for planners in different locations, how to view the status of each job or service order in real time, how to create service orders and jobs directly from the planning board, how to schedule service orders and jobs that have been created in the ERP using drag and drop, and how to create crews and assign multiple resources to a job or service order. Now I'll hand it off to Emily and she'll get started with the demo. Again, she'll give an in-depth demo on the standard planning board.
Thank you, Julissa. Are you able to stop sharing so that I can?
Yep. So you should be able to
start
sharing now.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
All right, so this is the admin side of ExpandIT. We have two sides. What we went over in the previous webinar was the mobile client. That is where the mobile technicians are able to view the work orders while they are doing the work out in the field. Today we're going to focus on the admin and planner side, specifically the planner aspect of it, as we'll focus on the admin in future. So this is the main landing page for the admin side. You can see here we have a few key performance indicators which are displayed via graphs on the main landing page. This is just meant to be a brief overview when the planners log in for them to see. What we're going to be focusing on mainly today is the planning board, which can be accessed by clicking on planning board on the left-hand menu here. So what's loading right now is the planning board. This is where planners or dispatchers will spend most of their time within ExpandIT. So here you can see we have different boxes, and these represent planning entries for work orders. So just as a terminology thing, we have work orders, and then we have jobs, and those are kind of used synonymously for us. We also have a planning entry. So a work order can have multiple planning entries. You may assign multiple people or one person across multiple days or multiple people across multiple days to work on a work order. You do not need multiple work orders for that, as you are able to add multiple planning entries to a single work order, and we'll go over that in a bit. So these are also, what's displayed here is the planning entry representation. So you are able to click on it and get brought into that work order, but this is a planning entry. So if I were to delete this, I would not be deleting the work order. I would just be deleting the planning entry for that work order. So the way that this is laid out is along the side here, we have resources, and they're split into what we call departments. So departments can be multiple different things. They can be based off of your skill set. You can have departments like administrators, planners, subcontractors, or they can be based off region. You can see here we have Denmark and North America as the different regions. And resources are not only people. They can be, if that's how you want to set it up, but you can see here we have a lift. So this could be if you have multiple machines that you have limited access to, and you need to schedule them to certain times to make sure that they're not double booked with different crews, that can be done here too, just to make sure that you have everything in one place. So we have the resources along the side, and these are all pulled from the ERP system. Along the top, we have the dates. So to the leftmost is today's date. As you scroll over, you can see everything up till the 15th currently, because that is what I have it set to up on this bar here. You also notice it goes from Friday straight to Monday. This is something that we have configured. We have decided we only plan Monday to Fridays. We don't want to even show Saturday, Sunday, because that takes up valuable space when I could just see the next day that matters to me. This does not mean that I cannot plan on a Saturday or a Sunday. And then I can click update to put that into effect. So the planning board does update intermittently. And when it does, you'll notice in this area here, it will say updating and then done. But if you've made a change such as to this filtering the dates, or if you've created a new job scheduled and you don't see it yet, you can choose update to do it automatically. Now, if I want to start looking at next week, I want to look at the 15th to the 18th, and I update that because I want to see what's happening next week. I can then use the today button to go back to today. So if I've scrolled multiple weeks into the future, multiple weeks into the past because I want to view past data, you can just jump back to today without going and setting it here. So that is the general setup. So you can see we have this red line here showing the current time and on the current date. That shows where we're at now. So that allows you to see that these work orders that are along that should be in progress. Those planning orders are planned for right now. So I'm going to go over how you are able to plan a work order. So there's multiple ways you can do that. The first one I'm going to show is by pressing this schedule new job button. So new job to us means something very specific. It means a work order that has not been scheduled previously. So remember how I mentioned that you can have multiple planning entries on the same work order? If you had had a planning entry previously and you have still more tasks to do on that work order, or it didn't get completed the first time and you need to schedule it again, it will not appear here under schedule new job. You need to find that somewhere else, which is why we do not recommend you use schedule new job, but I'm going to explain the functionality of it first, just in case. So there are multiple things you can see here. There are the service orders, and these are the work orders that come from the ERP system. So here you can see we have a list. If you want to search on a specific one because you know what it's called, you can do that and it will appear. You can select this arrow to the side to bring up more information on it. So you can get the ID, you can get the company. If there's a description, that will show. You can look at projects and search by those as well. If you want, you can choose to add a schedule a job for that specific project. And I'm going to go more over job creation in a bit. And then there's also this category down here of service orders created by users. So as I said, service orders come from the ERP system. Service orders created by users are work orders that are created on the ExpandIT planning board. So you can see these come up here as well. These are ones that have not been planned previously. So in order to plan them, you can do two things. If I want to plan this to John up here, I can just drag it and drop it onto the planning board. And then it'll ask you, do you want to move this entry? Say okay. And then it will appear up there. So you can see it moved, and that was because I had scheduled it for after hours. So if something is scheduled for after hours, it will say, you know what, no, 8 a.m. tomorrow is the closest time. I'm going to schedule it for then. Now you can override that within it, and I'm going to show you how to do that later, but it will do that automatically. Same thing if Saturday and Sunday was visible and you weren't supposed to plan on it, it would move it to the Monday. So if I don't want to drag and drop, the other thing you can do is you can press on that arrow and press this button here, and you can see it says schedule job. So pressing this will open what we call our edit order page. And we're going to spend a lot of time on this page today. But the first thing it will do is it will prompt you to create a planning entry. So here I'm able to plan it to whoever I like. I'm going to plan it to Emily. And I can plan it for tomorrow at 10 a.m. I can say this is going to take 3 hours. If I wanted to plan it on Saturdays, I could plan on Saturdays. If I wanted to plan outside work hours, that would prevent the switching that we saw previously when you dragged and dropped it into unacceptable time as far as the system's concerned. So you can override it that way. I'm just going to plan it tomorrow at 8 a.m. So I'm going to add that. So now I have added a planning entry to this work order. I want to add another planning entry, as I mentioned you could. I can say, you know what, Emily's going on the 10th. I'm going to send Mahar after on the 11th so that he can inspect it after Emily's done the work. And he's going to only need to be there for an hour. And I can add that. So now we have 2 planning entries on the same work order. And once we update and save this, you will see that reflected on the planning board. There'll be a box for each of these. So I'm going to go over everything else that's here a bit later, because for now I want to go over just planning. So I'm going to update and close as we have unsaved changes. If I were to just cancel or delete, these would not be there, they would disappear. So you need to either press update or update and close. Update and close will just close this window in addition. Update allows you to, if you want to continue doing things, adding comments, whatever, you can continue to do that after saving it. So I'm going to update and close. And once that's done, you can see that those have appeared on the planning board. The work order for Emily tomorrow, and the shorter one for Mahar on Friday. So you can see they also changed to be the size of the time allotted for them. So I said this was going to take 3 hours, so it has taken up 3 slots from 8 till 11, whereas Mahar's is only 8 till 9. So that is how you plan things from Schedule New Job. The other things are very similar. So if I want to go into search, and this is what we recommend you use, there are multiple things you can search on. You can, if you know the name of it or the identifier for it, you can just enter that into search, or you can just go on Planning Required and search, and that will bring up everything that requires planning. So this includes things that have been done previously, that need to be planned again, or that had multiple tasks and are still not done, that weren't completed the first time. So those will appear as well. So you can see we get a different list here than we do from Schedule New Job. If you were to select, I just want to see the new things, you're getting that exact same list that we saw over in Schedule New Job. You can also look at the backlog of historical unfinished jobs. If you want to look at all, it's not something that requires planning, but you just want to find something that you know was worked on 2 months ago and you have the number, but then you need to select it all. So I'm just going to look at Planning Required. And very similar to over in Schedule New Job, you can either drag it onto the planning board, drop it, and that will schedule it for you, or you can click on this button to the side and that will open the edit job window. So I can open the edit job window there. And this one already has planning entries. It has been planned before. But as it's not complete, I still need to plan more to it. So I can add a new planning entry. I can modify this. I can say, you know what, Soren's not able to do this anymore. I'll assign it to someone else. I can just send someone else along with Soren. It's up to the planner. So once you change something, so I'll just, you know what, I'm going to continue sending him. I'm just going to send him a bit later. Then I can update it. So those are the ways to plan a work order. If you want to make a modification, so if it turns out that Emily doesn't want to go at 8 a.m., she's called me and said, can we please do it later? You can move it to, you can just drag and drop it around, move it. That will shift it over, and it will change on the technician schedule as well. So each technician here is able to see their own schedule on the mobile client, so any changes you make here are visible to them. So anything you put on their schedule, they're able to see on their calendar for the day to see what they're working on. So I've gone over how to schedule a job. I'm now going to show you the map functionality. So this is the show map button up here at the top. So if I click that, it will open a map. And I'm gonna move that so that we can see both at the same time. So you can see I have workers across the world. I'm gonna focus up here where I have a few. If you had workers only in a specific area, it would zoom into that automatically. So this is meant to be used in conjunction with the planning board if you need some sort of spatial view for what you're planning. So this could be if it's an area you're not familiar with, you're covering for a colleague, you don't really know where the technicians live and you don't want to send someone going farther than they need to. You can use the planning map. So this shows you the location of your resources, and it shows you the location of the work orders. And it's also interactive. So with only this few resources, it's not super hard for me to find someone. I know where Robert is. But if I were to have hundreds, I'd be able to click on Robert and he would be highlighted over on the planning board. Same thing with the work orders. I don't know where this is. I have hundreds, but I want to plan it to someone. It will appear, it will flash on the planning board, and it will center to that. So that allows you to identify things on the map versus the planning board, just for easy identification when you might have hundreds of different planning entries, different work orders, different resources. So the other thing you can do is you can look at this and say, oh, these are the users that are nearby. I could assign Heidi, or I could assign Anne. You can click it and automatically assign it to Robert. If you want to click on Robert as well, it will also show you what service orders are nearby him. So if you just want to click on a resource and see, okay, what's nearby, what can he get done today? He's got an extra few hours. You're able to do it that way. If Robert needs someone to go with him to work on the project, you can see, okay, Otto's nearby. I can send him, or maybe I want to send Luke with him. So that is how the map is meant to be used. It's meant to be used in an interactive way with the planning board. Now, a lot of planners know their area very well. They don't need to use this, but it is a tool that can be used if needed. I'm going to go back to the planning board now, and now I'm going to go over filters. So the default for us is filtering by departments. So as I mentioned before, departments are these gray headers that come up. They can be really whatever you set them to be. And you can view to see different departments. So if as a planner, I do not want to see all of these departments I've selected, I do not have to. I don't want to see Belgium or Spain. I don't need to see those. I just need to see Denmark and North America. So I can select to only see those. Similarly, I can select to see different users if I do not want to see a specific user. So this could be responsibilities are split up between planners. Some take half the user, some take the other half, and I don't need to see the other half. That's not my responsibility. So I can just set that and I do not want to see them. Same thing, you can go based off skill or job type or the service order type. You can choose what you want to see. Whenever you have selected these, so if I want to unselect something or select something, I would need to press update at the bottom here, and then it would update the planning board and save. Now it can be a bit of a hassle to go and set those filters every time you want to change something. So what we do is we allow you to set views. And a view is something that you can set so that you can get the same filters every time you select that view. So currently I'm on Emily's view. I have set that this is what I want to see when I come into work. Now, if there were a situation where I'm going to cover for my colleague Luke, he takes care of a different area. So today I need to view something else. I can say I want to also see Spain because that's what Luke covers. So I can update it to view Spain. Now you can see that the Department of Spain has been added down here. I can add a new view. So what I can do is I can go into this views drop-down menu here, click edit view, and And I can save the current view by typing in a description. So I can say this is Luke's job, and I can save that. So that means when I'm done filling in for Luke, I can go back to my view. I don't need to worry about Spain, but the next time he's out sick and I'm covering for him again, I can go view Luke's job. And then I can see that same view again. So this prevents you from having to go and create those multiple times when you're going to be using them constantly. So this can be if you have different aspects to your job. Sometimes you handle the subcontractors, sometimes you don't, and you don't want to always have to see them. You want to compartmentalize your work. That can be done with views. The other thing you can do is you can set a default. So currently I have Emily's view set as my default. If Luke no longer works here, I don't want to have his view on here anymore, I can just delete it by pressing the delete button. That is no longer an option for me. If I am a manager and I want to make sure that all of my planners see the exact same view, so I know that we're all on the same page, I can create a view. This one is when I created for North America earlier. I can share it with everyone else. That means everyone, all the other planners have access to it, and I can tell them, hey, I want everyone to use the North America view. So then you can see here, these are the shared ones. These are ones that have been shared with me. So Luke made one that he shared. There's a few others. These are the ones that I've created. I've shared the NA one, so people are able to see that one as well. So this is North America. I'm going to go back to Emily's view just because that one's a bit cleaner. So now that we've gone over filters and views, there's a few other things I do want to show you. There is this travel time button, and that was selected briefly at the beginning here, so that adds these bars. So what those are is that shows the expected travel time to the site. So what that allows the planner to do is that allows them to make sure this planning entries are spaced out appropriately. And you can see we have some long ones because we have some people going to work on jobs in Denmark and North America from other places. The other thing I want to show you is the create a new job button. So this will bring you to a page very similar to what we've seen before. It is that same edit order screen. This just allows you to create a job from the expanded planning board rather than take one in from the ERP system. So you can choose it based off a few things. You can choose it based off customer. So I can go here, I can search for the specific customer name if I want, or I can just select it. I'm going to select this one. You're also able to select a project. So if that customer has a specific project and I want this under this project, I'm able to select it. And you can see the work description gets filled automatically with each step you do. I could just proceed with that right now. I could create a new project then if I wanted. Or I could do it based off a service item. And doing it based off a service item will automatically create a task. So I can decide that this work order which I'm creating, the service order, is going to be to work on this computer. And you can see that work description gets updated with that. If I want, I can change that. I want something else. I want it to say that you should go fix it. Once you proceed, it will bring you to this edit order screen you've seen before with that new work order you created. So you have the project number, the description up here, the customer contact information. There's a few other things I want to show you. I want to go through all these tabs and show the options. So here we have the details. You have the project, the description. You can add more information there if you like. If I want this work order to be planned on outside work hours, Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, that can be done here as well. You can set the status. Currently it's new. I can set it to something else if I would like. Currently I'm responsible for it as I'm the planner that created it. If I want to assign it to someone else, I can say, you know what, this is Anne's now. You can change the department. I can say this is coming out of Belgium. And you can fill in information as it's needed. I can decide that this is an urgent one. And if something is urgent, let's see if we have something on the planning board here, it will appear with this red outline to show that this is an urgent work order. So this is the details tab. It provides details both from the ERP system. Same with the customer tab. So here on the customer tab, you can see the customer, the work address, and the invoice. So the invoice is who it is getting billed to, not necessarily the same as the others. The work address is where the work is getting done. So it's where there's the invoice and the customer cannot be modified from here, the work address can. The work address is what is viewed on the mobile client. So this is where you're sending the mobile technician. And that might not be the same address as you have on file for the customers. It might be a site they have that they told you they need you to come to. So here you can edit it and send it. If you have a phone number, you can add that as well. And again, the technician in the field will see this email and that phone number because you might want them to call the person when they get to the site. So you might want to give them a phone number and let them know to call. So you can add that all in here and that will appear. Specifically, this middle column will appear on the mobile client. The technician will not see this customer or this invoice number as it's not relevant to the work that they're doing. The next tab is tasks. So you can see there's this computer line added from when I added the computer service item. So a lot of tasks are based off of service items like this computer was, but you can have different options. So you can have activities. You can see these very generic activities of step 1, step 2, step 3. You can add another service item. So I can say, in addition to working on that computer, I also need you to work on this as well. You can add a specific product. You need to go work on that washing machine, or I can add something manually, just do an inspection. That will be added as well. So these are tasks that that are attached to this work order and that the technician is able to see as something that they are supposed to be working on when they get there. If I want, I can add a message specific to this task, and this will appear on the mobile client. So I can say, after you fix the computer, do this. Or really whatever they need to see. So this will get sent to the mobile client connected to that specific task. The other thing we have here is lines. So these are often sent from the ERP system. You can budget lines previously to say, you know what, you're going to use this, so that as a planner, you know, you're able to tell the technician what to expect. So you can plan for them that they need to use a specific product. Maybe they need something for the computer. They need a grease filter, I guess. And that's going to come from the car. So this is a way for the planner to let the technician know what they need to bring with them. So if this is something they need to grab before they go, it allows you to tell them before they leave for the job. So they will be able to see this information once they get assigned that job on the mobile client. Once they use this grease filter, it will get added to the consumed lines section. Now, if they call me and tell me they used it, I'm able to add it myself. If they said, you know what, sorry, I forgot, I didn't do it, you're able to do it from here. If there was budgeted lines coming out of the ERP system, ones that from the ERP system you decided were budgeted to this work order, those could be moved up to planning lines and then up to consume line as they're consumed. You can also budget and plan for specific time. So you can say, I think we're going to use 2 hours of a resources time, so that's either a person or a machine, and those can also go up to consumed. So here we have the planning entries, which we've seen before. You can plan it to a specific person. I'm just going to quickly plan it to Emily again. So now it's planned, and here we have comments, and we've seen comments briefly on the task. So those are added specifically to the task. This is added specifically to this work order. So again, the internal messages go to the mobile client, but this will appear on the work order as opposed to on that specific task. So I can add something general for the work order, like call when you arrive. If the technician, upon receiving this, sends me messages back once they've started, those will also appear here. So I'd be able to see those as the planner from here. So if when they get there, they message me something like I'm here, I will get that. These invoice comments are printed on the invoice. That still goes through an approval process. So it's not necessarily like what you enter here immediately ends up there. This can also be disabled if desired. Additional messages is disabled in this case, but that would come from something like if you were connected to our portal system, you could communicate with the customer via portal messages. So this is comments. On the attachments tab, this is if you want the technician to be able to view something. That could be a diagram you have for them. You want to give them a map to the location if it's remote and doesn't have a good address, or you don't think they'll have cell signal out there. If the customer sent a picture of the broken item they're going to fix, those can be added here. And the technician will be able to view those once they're added. Reports we can currently not do anything on, but once the technician were to complete a report, that would be viewable here. I would be able to view that report they completed to see whatever information they added. The last thing I'm going to show is history. So history allows you to see the history for this customer. So here I can see that these are all the other orders that have been for this customer, 5 pages of them at the least. So I can use this and say, you know what, Luke is very familiar with this customer. I'm going to send Luke on this job. Or maybe I know they really liked Henrik last time when Henrik showed up to fill in for Luke, so I'm going to send Henrik this time. You can also see previous comments. So if Luke left some important comments, then you'll be able to see those here. Same thing, anything that was filled out on a report. So if you're capturing important information on a report that you might want the planner to see before they plan it, because that would allow you to know which materials to add, if the customer likes being called whatever. You can see those here and you could view them if you would like. Same thing with materials. It would allow you to say, you know what, they use this specific water pump. So if you're going to replace that, you know that's what was used previously. You can also filter based off service items. So if I say I'm going to fix the computer, I don't care what's been done on all the other stuff they have. I just care about what's been done on the computer. You can view just those specific ones for that computer item, service item. So that is history. So now I've created the work order. I've added everything. Same thing, you have to save or save and close. Otherwise, it will not update. So I'm going to save and close. And as I believed I planned that to Emily, it will appear on the planning board down there. So that is creating a new job. The next thing I'm going to go over is messaging, which is slightly different from the comments. I mentioned the internal messages, which can appear on the work orders. So these messages from this message button up here are much more general. They do not appear on a specific work order, but instead just appear on the mobile client. So this could be used if you want to send a message to all users. You could say, I want all users to get a message. Hi, everyone. Fill out this new report. Or I could specifically just say, you know what, I just want to send a message to Denmark, and that will send a message to everyone in the Denmark department. Or, you know, I just want to message Robert. So you go to Robert's name, click this message button here, and that will start a message to Robert. And again, those are internal messages. Those are not emails or text messages. Those come up on the expanded application. There is a messages section. You can also send a message specific to a work order. So if I right-click this work order and select message, you see it will automatically create a dialog here. So I am then able to enter the customer's email address and send them a message saying that we have configured, we wanted it to say that we've scheduled the visit and that whichever technician will arrive. You can add a visit to calendar so that they will get an actual calendar visit added to that message. This allows you to send something specifically related to the work order. So this will be sent to the technician working on it and then whoever else you select. The other thing I want to go over is beside the message button, there is this room button, and that is move overdue. And you can see similarly to the message, it is also on the top of the department headers. So what move overdue does when you select it is it will push over everything that has been uncompleted from previous days. So if Emily didn't complete something yesterday, it needs to be moved over to, I want to get all of it in. You can press move overdue, and it will bring everything that has not been completed up until today. It is then up to the planner to sort out any conflicts. So you can see Anders is currently working today. So if he were to have multiple things added to today, that wouldn't work. It is then up to the planner to drag things, move things, reschedule things as needed. But that allows you to make sure you do not miss work orders because you can no longer see them because the data switched. The other thing you can do is you can plan absences. So you can see Emily and Cam currently have absences here. It is a way to block out time. So absences is not the best description for it. It says absence, it's more of a unavailability. So you can set information and just say this is, training, or you can say this is sick leave for a specific date. So you can create that and say, Emily is going to be sick. She told me she's sick on Friday. And that creates it. And then you can see that time has been blocked out of Emily's calendar. So this allows for the planner to visually see who is not available when. So this might be internal training, or like I said, sick leave or vacation. That's what that is used for. Now this does not mean that you cannot plan to it, because if Emily's in internal training and there's this urgent thing that needs to be worked on, I can still drag that over. So you can see that even though Cam has been set to internal training, he's still assigned to this work order because someone's decided that that's more important than whatever he's currently doing in training. So it won't stop you from assigning that if you decide that that needs to be assigned. It's just a way of letting you know, hey, by the way, Cam's in internal training today. Don't schedule something if you can avoid it. The last thing I want to show is how to link coworkers. So if you have a crew that is going out to do the job at the same time, they're traveling in the same truck, they're working together, you are able to add a coworker. So if you right click on the job and select add coworkers, you can choose who to add. So I'm going to add Emily to it. If you update that, that will be added there. And you can see there's this paperclip icon to show them linked together, those two. And what this means is if this gets scheduled or it gets changed, it will move for both of them. So if I were to link that to multiple people, I wouldn't have to switch all of them. I'd just have to switch one of them. And as they're linked, they will all move. Because if they're all traveling in the same truck, they're all doing the same thing at the same time, you want them to go. You don't want like one going on Wednesday, one going on Thursday, one going on Friday. So that allows you to link them. You could also, if you want to create a copy of something, but this will just create a copy. It's not quite the same as linking them as add coworkers does. So I believe that is everything I wanted to cover on the planning board. I will now pass it back to Jaleesa to see if we have any questions.
Thank you, Emily. So the first question is, so once a resource has been appointed a job, can you remove that resource and appoint it to someone else?
Yeah, of course. So if you go into, you can go into the work order and do it. So you can just say, you know what, Emily's not doing that anymore. I'm going to assign that to Mahar, accept it, and then save it. That will replan it to Mahar. You can see that's been moved from Emily up to here. The other thing you can do is you can just drag it. It looks like Mahar's already busy that day, so I'm going to assign it to Eric. And then are there any other questions?
Thank you. And yeah, so the next question is, does the information stored continuously sync with the ERP?
So that is something that is up to the customer. So I will show up here. You can see these arrows. This means the data has different settings. So if you would like to, I mentioned approvals earlier, if you want everything to be approved before it gets injected back into the ERP, then nothing that is created will be injected until after it's been approved. But if you were to go and if you were to auto approve everything, then once it is completed, it will go back into the ERP system. But generally, when you create a work order, that information does not go through back in the ERP system until it has been worked on and completed. But those are mostly things that can be modified if you contact us.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'll go back and present the slides. Are you able to see the slides?
Yes.
Perfect. So recap of the objectives that we went through. Emily showed us how to send internal messages and emails to customers and technicians from the graphical planning board. We also learned how to view the status of each job or service order in real time. Emily also showed us how to create crews and assign multiple resources to a job or service order. And additional resources that you may use. So as we mentioned, we will distribute the recording afterwards, so you'll be able to go over it again and use it as you may like. We also do have other educational videos on our official YouTube page. We will have another webinar in the coming weeks, so that one focuses on the service portal. And lastly, for any support, you can always contact support@expandit.com. And if you do have any additional questions and want to ask us directly, our contact information is being displayed above, so feel free to reach out to us. And thank you again for joining us, and we hope this educational training webcast helped. Have a great day, everyone.